Put you back.
I know, right? Wonderful. All right, welcome everybody. See here, welcome to the June 4th, 2026 meeting of the Human Relations Committee. We are beginning at 6:34 p.m. My first meeting. A special welcome to Mary. Sorry. And if there are any attendees, or not, but FYI, there's agenda copies available. And I will now ask the Principal Management Analyst to take attendance by roll call.
Thank you, Chair. Committee Member McDonald. Committee Member Poicon.
Here.
Committee Member Smith.
Here.
Committee Member Webb.
Here.
Committee Member Young.
Excited.
Vice Chair Lester.
Here.
And Chair Papa.
Here. All right, moving on to minutes approval. The minutes for the May 7th, 2026 regular meeting have been delivered to committee members and posted on the City Hall bulletin board. Would any member of the public like to comment on the minutes? Seeing none. If there are no corrections or additions, a motion is in order to approve these minutes.
We do have one online.
Oh, no.
We do not.
Okay. That's on the city logo. I figured we didn't present her. Okay, so no comments or corrections from either the public or my fellow committee members. Move to approve it. Seeing none, we will. A motion is in order to approve these minutes. We can just do a show of hands. Let's see. Do we just do a show of hands or all those in favor? Or... Seconded.
Yeah, seconded.
Okay. Yeah. All righty. Let's see. All those in favor say aye. Aye. I've decided what I'm going with. Okay. All right. We'll move on to oral communications from the public. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the committee on any matter that is not on the agenda. Each speaker has up to 3 minutes to make a comment. State law prohibits the committee from acting on non-agenda items. For those attending the meeting via Zoom, please use the raise your hand function or press *9 on your phone to make a comment. The committee will receive in-person comments first. And seeing none and none online, we can move on to item 5, unfinished business. The Know Your Rights Ad Hoc Committee will now present an oral update.
Thank you, Chair. So we're still working on finding partners for plausible Know Your Rights trainings in post-September. For the new committee member, we're forming a Know Your Rights trainings with respect to senior rights, labor rights, and we've been working with the youth advisory committee to find what kind of Know Your Rights training we would want to do there, which would most likely be like freedom of speech, assembly, or First Amendment rights in that respect. But hoping to have more information for you soon or after the meeting.
Wonderful. Thank you, Committee Member Pipon. Are there any committee member questions? No attendees for public comments. I'll move on to the Civic Participation Ad Hoc Committee. The Civic Participation Ad Hoc Committee will now present an oral update. No action will be taken on site.
Thank you, Chair. I'll also give a brief description of the Civic Participation Ad Hoc Committee. This work is focused on collecting feedback from residents on their engagement with the city or what is keeping them from engaging with the city. Originally, we were doing this in person with various groups, but we've, over the last year, since I've been on the HRC, have embarked on a journey of trying to reach folks that normally that aren't already engaged. So instead of targeting neighborhood associations or other groups that are already familiar with the city, we decided to pivot to survey distribution. So we have that information that we initially collected verbally and in person via interviews with those groups. And then we also have now online surveys, Google Forms that were distributed in Spanish and Mandarin as well. And so I don't have any substantive updates since last month. Eric and I are still working to find a way to we have the data collected, but we're in the process of organizing it so that we can present it to the committee and so that it can be used as a tool by staff and by council on how to improve civic participation with the city.
Several questions.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Lister.
First one.
Oh. Would you wanna go?
Oh, sure. My question number one is, can you share the Google form with us, just so I know what the questions were?
Laura, is that something that we can do? Okay, perfect.
And then question number 2 was, in terms of the survey target demographic, are we sort of aiming to diversify the folks getting the survey, right? Versus just like friends passing to their friends who are already civic engaged, et cetera, et cetera. Do you know what I mean? Like my friends are already civic engaged, it's not the people that you're looking for.
Exactly.
But, yeah, so like what are the mechanisms to sort of help get to the people that usually would not respond to these type of surveys?
Yeah, there were a few different mechanisms. I think it did start with like just folks that we know and like, you know, share this with your neighbors, share this in your distributions. And then I know that we did do survey collections at an event at City Hall Plaza that, you know, caught people walking by. And so, yeah, I think in terms of reaching folks that have like no engagement,
Right.
no contact with the city whatsoever, that's where we kind of hit a barrier. And eventually, we did hit a deadline and we didn't want to skew too far from what the project originally was. So we kind of had those confines there. But yeah, definitely would love to I think this is like what we've realized is that this is ongoing work. And it's obviously civic participation is not going to be solved in one project. And so I'd really like to see the committee revisit this and like consider that factor specifically of how do we get to folks that are not even friends with somebody who's civically engaged with the city.
Yep.
So
Thank
yeah.
you.
Then Commissioner McDonald, your question?
Yeah, a long time ago, I was asked whether important things from the city could be translated into Russian. And I said I would ask, and I asked a number of different people in different departments, and none of them seemed to know whether that was being acted upon or not. So I thought I'd bring it up again.
Principal Analyst James, I think perhaps you can speak to that.
I can. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Committee Member McDonald, for the question. Russian has been in the past a part of the city's default languages for translation of key documents. That is based on thresholds that were established in federal and state law and guidelines. Since the time that the city has offered Russian as a default language for translation, the Russian community population in Mountain View has decreased. So Russian language materials are now available upon request. And we do, rather than having hourly part-time interpreter staff on staff, interpreters on staff rather, we do send it to a third-party agency that we work with for translation services. So things can be translated into Russian upon request. Program staff who work specifically with Russian-speaking or groups with large Russian-speaking populations, mostly at the senior center and in the rental housing division, do regularly request that translation or sometimes interpretation, for example, for rental housing hearings into Russian. So it is available, but it's no longer the default.
So if somebody wants to request translation, either in writing or somebody at a meeting, who do they ask?
Any city staff member that they're working with that offers the program, and they will go through our internal process to make that happen.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that, excellent sharing with James. And I'd like to add another comment on that. It's good to be reminded that Russian used to be a default language for the city, and as part of I'm on the Know Your Rights ad hoc committee, focusing on the senior rights, and so I'll keep in mind the need for Russian translations, because I remember from my past work with recycling outreach that by far the most requests for Russian translation were from the senior community, and especially the senior housing community. So thank you for bringing that up, and good to know that it sounds like anybody can reach out to the city staff contact for a program, and they will be able to go through the proper channels. But it will take some time. Okay. Wonderful. Moving on to the LGBTQ plus outreach committee. The LGBTQ plus outreach committee will present an oral update. No action will be taken on this item. Did we decide who's going to do the update? No. Principal Analyst James, would you mind helping us with the update real quick on
Absolutely, Chair. So the LGBTQ plus outreach committee had their kickoff meeting in May and began discussing strategies for having an outreach table at the city's Pride event, Together in Pride, on June 20th here at City Hall Plaza. Additionally, they began discussing which organizations they could reach out to partner with and extend their outreach into the community, including more informal gatherings, I should say, like the Queer Book Club at Books Inc. that meets regularly. Additionally, as part of that tabling station, the ad hoc committee discussed potential questions or brainstorming station ideas for something creative, like pinning an idea on the rainbow, I think was brought up as an option, or having interactive questions or some kind of giveaway to attract people to the table. And then also in looking for a giveaway to potentially research and reach out to queer-owned businesses in the city. So that's the direction that the committee is currently headed, with the purpose of getting information on how the HRC can better support the LGBTQ plus community with programming in the coming year, and then also in letting the LGBTQ plus community know about the HRC's work.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I have a question. Yes, committee member. Yeah. Okay.
Call me Mary. Okay. Does the Chamber of Commerce maintain a list of queer-owned businesses that we can access? That seems like something.
Thank you for the question, committee member Yan. I won't answer for the ad hoc committee members, but I will say that I did pick up their business directory brochure for that purpose at a training last week.
All right. Yeah, I also have a comment regarding that work. I know that Books Inc. is hosting a queer meetup group right now. It was Thursday at 6:30.
Oh.
So I was unable
Yeah,
to
it's
attend it,
Wednesday.
unfortunately. But I have a friend who was planning on attending, and so I will hopefully reach out with him and see if there was any interesting topics brought up. Wonderful. Okay, so I believe we can now move on to item 6, new business. And our top topic is the Mountain View Police Department 2025 annual report. The commission will now receive a presentation on this from Chief Michael Canfield. No action will be taken on this item.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Vice Chair. Committee. I'm Mike Canfield, Mountain Police Chief. With me is Captain Evan Crowell, and I'm the Chair. We will be presenting the 2025 annual report. I want the HRC know and the community to know that we are very happy to be here. This is our second year presenting our annual report. I think it's beginning to be a tradition, and it's fantastic. We do save this annual report for this HRC meeting. So it is now, as of this evening, on our website. And we will distribute it through our robust social media network, and I will send it directly to our stakeholder groups, as well as chiefs advisory bodies, and we will put it in our city's email distribution lists. But we saved it first to share with the HRC and to be on your agenda. So it is significant to us and very grateful to be here. It is a high-level summary of, frankly, the life's work of 143 and a half people that worked very hard to provide incredible public safety service to our community. It was a large focus for 2025 to ensure that we were very responsive and aware of the needs of our community, that we were listening to fears and concerns related to policing, whether it be local or national, and that we were really leaning in and engaging even more significantly than we have in the past, which is saying something. Frankly. So you will see in here significant hiring, a lot of new faces in our command staff ranks, but there's also a lot of movement within the organization that will greatly affect the long-term culture and development and continuity of operations with our staff. So very purposeful selection with promotions, but also specialty positions and very important professional development focus to ensure that for many, many years to come, we have exceptional people that are well-trained and positioned to take on leadership roles within. With that, I will turn it over to Captain Crowell and we'll continue with the presentation.
Thank you, Chief. Good evening. Again, like Chief said, very excited to be here to share this information with you. Obviously, there's a lot of information in this packet. This is going to be, like Chief mentioned, a very high-level summary. So hopefully we get everything in here that we want to. I guess I'm the next slide.
Next slide.
There we go. So first, just go over quickly what we're going to cover tonight in a few of our categories. As you can see, we're going to cover some little bit about our department demographics. We'll go over some crime trends throughout the city, calls for service. We'll go over our professional standards unit, some division updates with some of the different divisions we have within the department, some technology, and then kind of finish it off with some officer wellness, and obviously be able to answer questions once we finish up at the end. So with that, next slide. So we'll start out with our department demographics. The Mountain View Police Department is an incredibly diverse workforce. We have employees who speak several different languages, and I'll highlight a few of them as you can see on the screen. A lot of these languages are also our officers' primary languages, which is very nice to be able to connect with the community with all these different languages. So you can see there's American Sign Language, Arabic, Cantonese, Hindi, Japanese, Portuguese, Russian, ×2 actually, Russian officers that speak, Spanish, Tagalog, and Vietnamese. So you can see we have a lot of languages spoken, and this is just a testament to how we're able to communicate and interact with our community. From a recruiting standpoint, we continue to recruit the best possible officers that we can to go out and serve the community every single day, not only from our sworn staff, but also our professional staff as well. Recruiting, like I mentioned, is a very high priority. And in 2025, we were able to hire 12 full-time officers and additionally 2 reserve officers as well. It's also worth noting, as you can see, we have more female sworn officers now than I can remember. And in 2025, that number actually jumped from 15% in 2024 to 20% in 2025. And Chief, do you want to elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, I mean, I can just say that both personally and professionally, this is the most diverse, both by gender and ethnic makeup of our department has ever been. 20% is gender diversity at our sworn ranks, so our officer ranks, is significant. It is the type of numbers that agencies aspire to and don't reach. And I'm just thoroughly impressed with the exceptional candidates that are coming in. It's a really great sign and a great bellwether for our industry, but really for our department.
Apologies for the dumb question. Is the Mountain View Police Department now fully staffed, or are they still open?
Yeah, so we will take questions at the
Sorry.
end, but I'll answer that one. We have we have a couple of openings related to recent retirements, but we do not really have a functional vacancy rate right now. I think we have 3 vacant officer positions, but we filled up all of them with our last hiring process, and a few people retired. I will point out when Captain Carl's talking about the 12 hires of full-time officers that we hired, we're an agency of 97 sworn officers. It's not great at math, but I know that is over 10% of hiring of our ranks. In addition, we've had 6, probably maybe 7 officers that carried over, began their field training, their practical hands-on training with our officers in the previous year that continued into this 2025 year, meaning that our officers were training not just those 12, but easily another 6 from the previous year in 2025.
Thank you. And just to touch on that as well, it's also an incredible testament to our field training officers who train all these new officers. And I think at one point we had 10 officers and reserves in the training program at once, which is unheard of. And it was an incredible amount of work, but just a testament to our staff and the work they do to train these officers and get them out to serve the community. And just finishing up a little bit about our department demographics, you can see also there's info from the 2020 census, and you can see that our racial demographics align fairly well with the city and the census that was taken in 2020. Go through a couple of the numbers. So white, we have 46%, a little over 46%. Hispanic Latino, we're at 26.1%. Asian Pacific Islander, about 19.4%, and then Black African American is 2.4%. So just wanted to kind of highlight that is aligned with our demographics from the census.
Thank you, Captain Carl. If I can jump in, these are large umbrellas that we draw from and try to mirror what our census says. So you'll see 2020 census data in the pie graph to the right. The Asian Pacific Islander category includes East Asians. That is an area that I believe we would value in growing our officer ranks. We have 1 native Hindi speaker within the department, but certainly we would love to see more applicants from that group. We've spoken with some community leaders in the past and have been invited to recruiting organizations, but it doesn't tend to be a group that applies significantly to police agencies in the Bay Area. I hope to see that change, and we're certainly interested in seeing those demographics kind of in a more nuanced way reflect our community as well. Next slide.
Next slide, please. So now we're going to get into some of our crime trends throughout the city. Crime trends are going to be broken up into this slide and the next slide. So first is we're going to talk about property crimes. And you can see in 2025, we actually had a slight decrease in our reported property crimes. From 2024, we had 2,855 reported property crimes. And then in 2025, we saw a slight decrease down to 2,842. All of this data and our crime trends is also available on our public-facing transparency dashboard, and I really, really encourage everybody to go look at that. It will have this stuff on it, but it will allow you to get a real granular. Go ahead.
This room is a little special right now, but we have a workaround.
Do you want us to pause? Shall we pause while the reboot happens, or do we continue?
Do we know how long it'll take? Is it like a just a real quick thing?
We're still connected.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't mind either way.
This happened to downtown.
First, I guess, maybe question or pause? Yeah, I guess pause is the most appropriate thing. Oh, yeah, because if people are not able to access the meeting online.
That was going to be my question about whether or not the Asian did. Therefore, feel like it's different. Not just this Asian number is not.
We don't have a lot of East Asian officers, but you won't find a lot of East Asian.
No,
officers
I agree.
anywhere.
I'm actually shocked that I'm actually shocked that the representative Asian officers. So
Yeah,
I think there's a lesson to be learned.
industry will shift.
Yeah.
But the next generation will help.
Absolutely.
But also the presence in the schools, the engagement, things. That's how
I'm
we-
actually impressed you had many Asian officers. Yeah, you did. It's not considered a high respect profession in the Asian community, speaking as a impersonation agreement. Police officer work is that.
Stepmom.
That is how you
If
do
your if your stepson is a police, that's a high value.
There we go.
That's all sorts of, family gatherings,
I love it.
but much less so as a.
All right, folks, we seem to be reconnected, confirming that if anybody were to join online, they would be able to see. And we can now continue.
Continue. Okay, thank you, Chair. So I think I left off talking about our transparency dashboard. So again, just want to reiterate and plug that it is something that our crime analyst works tirelessly on to be able to not only have this basic data, but give you the ability to really dive into it and see maybe just around your neighborhood or something else you're interested in. You can really break it down to interact with it. It's really nice. So I encourage everybody to check that out. A little bit more info about property crime trends from 2025. You can see that just under 29% of property crimes fall into the most general category, which is larceny. And this includes package thefts, mail thefts, bicycle thefts. So as with years past, they generally fall the majority into that category. However, we can.
No, I turned it off.
Okay.
We're looking at.
Okay. We obviously continue to see vehicle thefts predominantly in the higher density areas like downtown. So that is still something that is a large number that we're constantly looking at to try to bring down. And going through a couple more of the categories and some of the information that you see on the slide, a little over 9% of our cases involve burglaries, which is actually an almost 10% decline from last year, which was at about 17%. We're happy to see those numbers go down. And these types of cases in burglaries, these can be kind of what traditionally you would think of somebody breaking into your home as a type of burglary, but it also includes any home that's above like a parking structure, underground garage. Those are considered burglaries as well. If somebody's breaking into like a secure bike locker in a parking garage underground, that is also considered a burglary. So those are all in that same category as well as the traditional what people I think are more accustomed to with somebody breaking into your house. So those are all in one category.
Are these data broken down by year? Sorry, on the website.
The whole question.
Sorry.
And obviously our detectives work tirelessly on the property crimes in terms of burglaries, so including the burglary sprees into people's homes. So that's hopefully why we're seeing some drops in these numbers. Is our detectives working really hard to stop some of the burglary brews. Just a quick note about the categories. These categories are all uniformed by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. So these are the categories that we report to. So they were made universal, so it's easier to report these crimes. So you have to fall in one of those categories. Next slide. So the next division update, or excuse me, next update crime trend wise is we're going to go into our person crimes. So a little bit from 24 to 2025, we did see a slight increase, but that increase was only from 739 to 742. So it was an increase, but obviously, however, slight. Yeah, I'm going to check. Not that quick. So as expected, also a lot of the majority of these offenses fell into our simple assault category, which includes assaults with injuries, unknown assaults and unknown parties in those assaults, and also assaults with intimate partners, violent as well, fall into the simple assault category. Every one of these cases is obviously very important, deserves our attention. However, it's important to recognize that some of the percentages represented by the more serious offense categories account for a very, very small portion of the incidents compared to the overall numbers. So just wanted to point that out. It's also important to note that some of the incidents may meet the legal definition of a category, like kidnapping is one of those examples, but yet they differ significantly from what someone would think of like a stranger abduction. So the category may fall into that, but that obviously the word is very alarming, but there is a difference in some crime might fall into that category, but it is not what we kind of associate with as the worst case scenario. And again, I'm going to plug our transparency dashboard on this to go. This info is on there where you can take a look at it, refine it, dive deep into the data so you can really see what's going on.
Yeah, I would just say that in addition to that, the transparency dashboard, that access portal, we want it to be a living document. So when you go online, please provide feedback. That feedback is looked at by our staff, and the document is updated regularly based on the feedback, what people are interested, and how it's working, and what they're finding value in. My recommendation, although we were hoping to have it really functional in a mobile format, there is so much data that it really becomes difficult to use on a mobile device. So an iPad or computer is best, but you can use it in a mobile device as well. Next slide.
Yes, please. And our crime analyst who runs our transparency dashboard, I believe there is a portion on there for feedback. So if there's something you see, your words are try to break it to see what you if there's something else that you want on there, and she can easily add it. All right. Next, we're going to talk about our Emergency Communications Center. I may refer to it as the ECC. It's just kind of my brain. So, but it is our Emergency Communications Center, which is our dispatch center. Obviously, our Emergency Communications Center is 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. They are very, very highly skilled at what they do and what they have, information they have to take in. They're proficient in multiple dispatching disciplines, which obviously includes answering emergency calls. That also includes dispatching our police personnel just to calls for service that come in that might not fall under an emergency, dispatching our fire department to emergency situations, and also providing emergency medical dispatch for our Mid-Peninsula Park Rangers as well. So they're doing all that at one time. Which is it's an incredible amount of information that they take in and are able to decipher and put out correctly. In 2025, we had almost 98,000 calls into our dispatch center, with almost 24,000 of those being 911 emergency calls. Very proud to say that over 98% of those emergency calls, the 911 calls, were answered within 10 seconds. As high of a number that is, it's even higher than 2024, which was just under 98%. So they actually improved on that already incredibly high number with that amount of call volume. It is just incredibly impressive and just a testament to their professionalism and their dedication to what they do every single day. Right.
And I will just say, when they're not able to get to a call in 10 seconds, which is very rare, it generally is because we're getting 50 or 60 calls flooding the 911 line for some significant incident. And they're literally just transferring from one to the other, making sure there's not a new threat comes in, which is its own art form. There we go. Okay, special events and community outreach. This wasn't an initial slide that we had in, frankly, but it's so significant to what's important to our community in 2025 that I wanted to make sure that we included it. Of course, it's in our annual report, but I wanted to make sure that we at least discussed at a high level some of the many things that our offices do to engage and connect with our community. You will see everything from motor officers driving in Santa Claus, it's on a fire truck, for a tree lighting ceremony, to our officers teaching women's self-defense classes, us teaching classes at St. Athanasius Church on Sundays to parents, including answering questions about pressing issues related to child safety, youth safety, and how they relate to immigration issues in the Mountain View Police Department. We held many special meetings with community organizers and community groups, specifically related to immigration enforcement and the role of Mountain View Police Department. Just to circle back to that topic, the Mountain View Police Department does not engage or support civil immigration enforcement. That has been our practice for way before it was state law for at least 28 years. The time that I've been here, I suspect it's somewhere around 38 years, but we don't know for certain because it goes back beyond our records. But sharing that information at numerous community meetings and groups was significant. We were listening to what was important to our community and finding ways to make sure that those messages were being shared. That includes having a sergeant who is actually on the board of the Day Worker Center and attended all 12 of the Day Worker Center meetings, being present with me, attending Capacito meetings. It's a very, very long list of the community outreach and engagement that we do. But what I want you to know is that we both tailor it to the needs of our community, and we bring in a lot of our staff to be part of it. So it's not the Chief Canfield and Captain Crowell show, it is a broad representation of our organization, and it reflects our organization's values and culture when we do that. That is one way that I believe that we continue for many, many generations the exceptional work that our police department does, and how we are, and reflects how we're woven into our community's tapestry. That's very important to make sure that I think I'm afraid to double advance in case it's slow. There we go.
What? We're good. Thank you, Chief. We'll move on to talk about some of our divisions. We'll talk about first our professional standards unit. Our professional standards unit reports directly to Chief Canfield, and it's occupied by one police sergeant. They handle both our awards and accommodations for our MVPD staff, as well as a thorough review and investigation of complaints and policy violations, along with significant incidents such as use of force and also vehicle pursuits, all go through our professional standards unit. In 2025, you can see that we initiated or responded to over 37,000 incidents or calls within the city. And in total, there were 13 uses of force within those 37,000, or excuse me, over 37,000 incidents, which obviously equates to, again, math isn't my strong suit, but it is about 0.03% of those roughly 37,000 calls that resulted in any type of use of force. Our officers initiated 10 pursuits in 2025. 6 of those pursuits resulted in apprehensions. One resulted in a collision, unfortunately, by a suspect where they intentionally rammed one of our patrol vehicles.
No, I saw it at the vehicle day when they had it out and displayed. That's when I got pushed.
And lastly, on this slide, our 8 personnel complaints, 2 were sustained, 5 were unfounded, and 1 is still pending. Slide, please. Some further division updates. We're going to go into our traffic division. Traffic obviously continues to be a very high priority for not only the police department, but also for the city. We work closely with our traffic engineering and transportation division to make sure that we're collaborating and be very as comprehensive as possible in our approach to traffic safety, knowing how much of a priority that is with all of our drivers going through the city every single day. In 2025, our department issued 7,764, I'll just read the exact number, traffic citations. Over 2,000 of those were actually traffic citations, and the remaining were parking violations for that number. In terms of accidents, we had 357 accidents that were reported in the city in 2025. And one of those collisions, unfortunately, did turn out to be fatal. But we did have a little over 350 total accidents that were actually reported to us in 2025. A lot of people's keep it away.
I'm gonna push it twice, but I know it's gonna happen.
What tends to be a lot of people's favorite topic is talking about our canines and our dogs that we have here at the police department. You can see 2 of our canines are pictured here. We have canine Maya, who is with Officer Scholl, and then we have canine Atlas, who is with Officer Einfall. Very proud to say that our canine program is one of the longest running programs in Santa Clara County. I don't know the exact number, Chief, of how many
The
years.
longest running in the whole of all of Northern California. I believe it is the longest in Santa Clara County, continuous program.
That's a math.
I have a lot of questions. That was great. I don't get them all.
So in 2025, we had 93 total deployments by our canine teams in calls for service. And I'm going to give a little bit of a preview here. There's no picture yet. You'll have to wait for that one. But we do have a new canine who we just brought on board, whose name is Doc. Picture's not out there yet, but he just recently, with Officer Lau, finished his training. And he is out on the street working with Officer Lau as we speak, actually. So very proud of that. Chief, do you want to get a little more about our canine program?
Yeah, maybe just a little bit about those deployments. We utilize our canines for a number of different skills. They look for missing persons. They can track somebody that we're looking for. They can, and we use them to look for discarded items. So if someone threw a stolen item into the bushes, it's very hard to find, but not for a dog, not for a very well trained dog. So we utilize our dogs for many things. They are also, although not Maya on the left, but Atlas on the right, they are trained in apprehension, which is biting potentially. But we are very purposeful about the use of our dogs. We actually train our dogs to a very high standard. They are trained to what's called find and alert or find and hold. So they will search for someone when given a command to search for a missing person. They will, or a person that we're seeking, rather, not a missing person, a person that fits our criteria, that fits a very robust criteria required for using a dog in this manner. We will search for them. If a dog finds that person, they don't find them and bite them, which is the industry standard. Our dogs will find and bark or alert. So they will find them, sit down and stare at them and bark very loud and intimidating bark. And that, first of all, the handlers are within a rope's line anyways, but that alerts the handler that we found the person. That takes a lot of extra training. In fact, I'll tell you just frankly, some agencies don't think that it can be done, which is why we film our training in this category, because our dogs do it. They do it very well, and it takes a lot of training. We document it, and we keep very tight canine training records, but specifically for our searching and alerting, because it is such an impressive skill. It's a high level of training that you don't find in very many other agencies, and it's something that I'm very proud of.
Chief. Next slide. Another one of our division updates we'll talk about is our youth services unit. Our youth services unit has really been focused on supporting our youth in the community since about 1962. So we're very proud of this program and what our youth services unit does, which it encompasses our school resource officers. So the unit consists of 1 sergeant, 3 school resource officers, and then we have some part-time police assistants who are obviously all trained and dedicated to be responsive to our youth, not only at school, but at home as well, at the direction in working collaborative with the school districts. In addition to being the resources to the schools, youth and their parents, we run a couple of programs that are highlighted here that I can imagine that some of you have heard of, but we're very proud of these programs, very long-running programs. The first one we'll talk about is Cops That Care. So Cops That Care in 2025 served almost 900 children. What this is in the holiday season, get together, get donations, and lots of stuff for these children that they might not normally have if they're underserved in the community. Not only is it gifts for the holiday season, but it is also essentials for children that need diapers and families that need diapers, hygiene kits, toothbrushes, toothpaste, all that kind of stuff that goes along with the gift. So you can imagine the joy on a kid's face when they get a present that they might normally get and they get to pick it out from this event, but the parents also get the things that they just need. So we're very proud of this program, and our youth services unit does a phenomenal job every year serving this almost 900 kids in 2025.
Tell me what ROAR stands for.
Oh, I knew somebody was going to ask that, and I can never remember it.
Oh, I used to know it.
I will find it.
You want me to talk about the ROAR program, or do you want to talk about it?
You can talk specifically about the ROAR program. I'll get it. Yeah,
So the ROAR program, and I'm disappointed that I can't remember the acronym, failing under the pressure. But the ROAR program is a youth mentoring program that was created specifically to address concerns and issues at Graham Middle School, where we utilize 8th grade students to be hands-on mentors for 6th grade students who later graduate through these development programs and then go on to be the mentors in the 8th grade. So our school resource officers work on life skills, mentoring, modeling good behavior, and that ROAR program is a modeling of kind of the big 8th graders that model these brand new kids in 6th grade. Really, the focus was to reduce the number of middle school fights to increase attendance, to help youth not vape in the middle schools, and to increase like overall kind of healthy behaviors and responsible behaviors, but not just because a school resource officer told these kids to do it, but because a kid that they're also looking up to. So it both feeds the confidence of those counselors, but also enables the younger kids to look up to these youth.
Yeah, I can remember when, this was a long time ago, when my son was in third grade, I think it was. And police came with canine. And one kid in my son's class was petrified by the dog. The dog didn't do anything, but kid apparently has either no involvement with dogs and was frightened by them, or had some negative experience one way or the other. And the officer who brought the dog was so patient with this boy. And before he left, the boy hugged the dog and the officer. And I thought that was just the best thing that could happen, because I love dogs and they do so much for kids.
The kids love our dogs. Generally our kids come to our dogs don't go to the kids, but it depends on the community event. But the dogs are always a big hit, and I've seen your experience in firsthand as well. It's phenomenal.
To answer your question, ROAR stands for responsibility, ownership, ambition, and respect. Got it. I will not forget that ever again. Responsibility, ownership, ambition, and respect. There you go. So that was our Cops Care program. Next, I want to talk about, which is actually our award-winning Dreams and Futures program, which provides more of a fun and constructive character building activities for kids during the summer months when they may not have that structure in school life every single day. It pretty much runs the entire month of July every year. It's broken up into two sessions. One is for our elementary school kids and one is for our middle school kids. So each is 2 weeks where they do a variety of things, from talk about healthy eating habits. They do outdoor activities. They do field trips. It's really a phenomenal time. It's an intense selection process where these kids are selected to participate in the program with input from the school district, our school resource officers who work with staff every single day to really identify these kids that really need it. And it's really a fun program to them. It's very sought after. And our school resource officers and our youth services unit did a phenomenal job. And you can see that served a little over 100 kids last year in 2025 throughout those 2 weeks in the summer months. It's very rewarding. We also have a lot of assistance from our great partners like the Rec Department, Elk Mental Health, Google, and also our Public Safety Foundation program every single year. We talked a little bit about the mentoring programs that also our school resource officers run, including ROAR, which we all now know what it means, or what the acronym stands for. And we also have the General PAL mentoring program, along with our PAL Gals, which is a mentoring program specifically for female students as well.
That was created by female school resource officer, specific to some needs that she was seeing at Crittenden Middle School, working with the school counselor and the school administration, and created a really phenomenal.
The next division update we're going to talk about.
Yes, Michael. One more
back. One more back. Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
you're good. You're good. The next division is our Neighborhood and Event Services division. So our Neighborhood and Event Services division it collaborates with our City Manager's Office, the Human Services division, and our community-based organizations to really address and tackle the complex needs of our unstably housed community members. This is their primary focus of this unit, which consists of a sergeant and an officer, along with police assistants, as well as our community service officers as well. Our current community services, community outreach officer, our COO, is Officer Jesse Medina, who does a phenomenal job in that unit with Sergeant Mora. To serve as that conduit between our unstably housed community and community-based organizations and resources. And you can see that in 2025, Officer Medina and Sergeant Motomura and everybody else in our neighborhood event services unit referred almost 100 people to our permanent housing through the county to try to get them permanent housing for their situation. So they really do a phenomenal job at this every single day. They really deploy a balanced approach of compassion, case management, enforcement of applicable laws and violations, but we really try to do that balanced approach to understand the situation and really try to cater to their needs as well with the situation that they're going through.
Back one more. Please.
I hit two buttons at once.
Yeah. We'll next move into our investigative services division, which is essentially all our detectives that we have within the department that take the cases that start with patrol and then they take it to where it needs to go after that with their skills and abilities. Our crimes against person detectives, obviously they're the ones that investigate our most serious crimes that we have in the city, obviously including homicide, crimes against children, robberies, and any sexual crimes too. Those detectives handle all of those cases when they come up. In 2025, obviously we had a lot of major investigations, but one of the ones I wanted to highlight was a successful arrest of a sexual assault and drugging suspect with over 60 victims that we were able to successfully extradite and arrest here in Mountain View. Our other investigative unit is our crime suppression unit. So our crime suppression unit, if you think our crimes against persons unit, obviously is crimes that happen against people. Our crime suppression unit is really more of the burglaries, any drug offenses, and those type of investigations as well. Burglary crews that are targeting our residential neighborhoods. So this is really the focus of that inside the house, which is our crime suppression unit. One case I want to highlight from their side is in 2025, we were able to arrest, call it a crew. They were conducting mail thefts, and we were able to identify over 500 victims of mail theft, not only in Mountain View, but also surrounding counties as well. Also encompassed in our investigative services division is our cyber and financial crimes unit, which is really something we're incredibly proud and lucky, frankly, to have in Mountain View. Not a lot of departments are able to have this in-house kind of digital forensic unit, which they can obviously analyze and download in all the types of devices that come through, from computers to cell phones to any tablets, anything else with that highly trained staff. In 2025, they were able to examine 434 devices. They investigated 150 fraud and cyber crimes investigations, and also 71 internet crimes against children investigations as well, which is our unit is part of the National Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, which obviously is responsible for protecting children, both obviously in Mountain View and outside of Mountain View as well, with our partners at the task force. Our officers in our investigative services division are also part of several other task force, including CSET, which is primarily responsible for fentanyl-related deaths and overdoses, and also other drug-related crimes throughout the county. Our REACT task force, which is our high-tech and cyber crimes task force. Also, the last task force that we were part of is called RADIF, which is our regional auto theft task force in the county. And they're obviously responsible for investigating stolen cars, auto theft rings, anything that goes with cars or vehicles. Not only do they do phenomenal work every single day, but it also gives us the opportunity to pull from those resources from the county task force to help us when we have something in Mountain View that maybe we need some more help with, or just specialized training.
Michael, would you advance the slide, please?
I moved my water bottle. I was hoping that would help.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
We'll next move to department technology. As we all know, especially living in Silicon Valley, technology is advancing rapidly every day, it seems like, with everything that we encounter. Obviously, we have the emergence of AI, artificial intelligence, and other advanced innovations that are just changing the landscape of everything we do. And trying to keep up as fast as it's growing and evolving. From unmanned aerial systems, which are drones, through data collection, through our transparency dashboard, body-worn cameras, automated license plate readers. We're continuously evaluating all of this to make sure that we obviously give our staff and our officers the best possible technology to do their job and serve the community, which is why technology anywhere, but especially here, and if we have opportunities to use that technology, obviously using that can be sensitive, and we want to make sure that we're protecting everyone's privacy and ensuring that any new technology really aligns with our department standards and community expectations with any type of technology that we bring on board here at the department. Chief.
Yeah, I don't think it. Oh, go ahead.
You mentioned the flock.
Oh, I'm kidding.
The license plates, and I do recall reading about reported use of those so that the police didn't even know that information was
That is
somewhere else.
absolutely accurate. And Captain Crowell was kind of burying the lead for me to fill in. But it is, yeah, we would be remiss if we advance to the next slide. Absolutely. So I will say that although our automated license plate reader program, which we use a vendor named Flock Safety, that onboarded really in 2024. The program didn't really start in earnest until 2025. So the cameras really started going up, other than one camera. They started going up in 2025. And we just finished putting in our 30th camera by the time we discovered that although we had held up our end of the bargain and our audits of our staff use of those cameras showed consistent policy adherence, exceptional crime fighting investigative use, harm reduction to our community, the vendor's use of that technology did not meet our expectations. They fell short of my expectations, they fell short of our policy, and they fell short of their promises. That's why I made the decision to turn off our cameras. It was not because I don't believe that it is an important technology that can reduce harm in a community, but when utilized wrong and when a vendor does not follow through with their end of the bargain, I believe it creates more harm in the community. That decision was made by me. I then turned off our cameras, allowed our city council time to have a staff report, and frankly allowed Captain Crowell and I time to write a comprehensive staff report with additional city staff help. Presented it to city council with a recommendation to turn off to end our contract with Flock Safety. City council did affirm that decision and ended our contract with Flock Safety. I can tell you that I support that decision. I was deeply disappointed to learn not only that Flock Safety was sharing information against our policy, against our program, against how we had designed the system with them outside of the state of California, but also against potentially state law. They were sharing it with non-California law enforcement agencies. Perhaps even more concerning than that was that Flock Safety, when they became aware of it, didn't notify myself or other chiefs in the state. They just decided, or maybe I don't know what they decided, but I do know what they did. What they did was they fixed it without notifying myself and other chiefs that I've spoken to. That resulted in eventually us discovering it on our own and our program being in place for significantly longer, and really a sense of harm to our community greatly being magnified than had they have been straightforward and communicated to us in a timely and reasonable manner, which my understanding would have been maybe the end of 2024 or very, very early 2025. I believe at that timeline, had they have acted in line with our policy and their promises, We likely could have salvaged that relationship and moved forward. I don't see how there's after that action, after we had to discover their decision to hide that from us or not share that with us, I should say, it became untenable for me as the police chief to leave those cameras on without our city council making that decision. I do want to point out, use that technology to apprehend the mail thieves that have targeted 500 people, to make apprehensions in residential burglaries that I believe were targeting people because of their race, to locate a woman who had been kidnapped by her boyfriend, who the family was concerned for her safety. We're all concerned for her safety, to find a missing person who was at risk. The technology is incredible, but I believe that there's a great amount of responsibility that needs to come with it. So we are examining and learning and researching what is out there, but we have learned quite a bit from the experience with this vendor, and that is certainly will shape any future recommendations dramatically as we move forward. I'm sorry if I was a little loud.
No,
I'm a little passionate.
appreciate it.
One more thing I want to add on our technology. For unmanned aerial systems, our drone program, we do have a program that's been running for quite a while now for drone system. We were early adopters of body-worn cameras for officers. One of the things that significantly changed for our body-worn cameras in 2025 was our ability to watch live during significant or emergency events, so we can see what's going on in real time from our officers' point of view while they're dealing with it. So it'll help not only with audits and stuff, but it will help with decision making and just being able to have that information in real time as opposed to kind of after the fact. So that's a really important update that gives us a lot more information in real time to help with that.
Yeah, I can say one of the SWAT operation that was a arrest of one of the crew members from one of those large scale residential burglary crews. I was watching the officers on the front of the house, the officers on the back of the house, their officer worn cameras. So I can see in real time. At the same time, we were displaying on the same monitor our drone footage. So you could see an aerial as well as both sides from a tactical and safe decision-making platform. That's just incredible technology that really allows for information sharing, the best, safest outcomes. And it's really phenomenal for just safe harm reduction and tactical decision making.
Every phone, Joan. We're gonna hold questions till sorry. They're all really good questions, but I know everyone has a lot of questions and we want to get through the presentation.
Okay. We'll move on to talk about some of our officer wellness. Officer wellness is the top priority within the department. Policing is obviously a very demanding profession that exposes officers and staff to very unique physical, mental, and emotional challenges throughout every single day they go out in the field to support the community. To support their well-being, along with being really an investment in our people, with some of the programs and things that we've had going and newly adopted programs that we think are really going to serve not only officers but staff in general very well. We have a newly open department wellness room for staff to use. We have comprehensive health screenings. We have a long-standing peer support team to help our officers and staff in general, a chaplaincy program. We also have a financial wellness component for our staff, and also a wellness app that is accessible 24/7 with a large amount of resources that anybody can access at any time. So we all know the benefits of this, and it's really important for us to have healthy, supported staff for the long run and to better serve the community every single day.
I think it was this. It was here.
Oh,
Now we know who to blame.
fascinating.
Lastly, I want to talk a little bit about our social media real quick. Obviously, we continue to have a large presence on social media and really view this as an opportunity to connect with our community that may not be seeing things otherwise, whether it's any of these platforms listed on here. I'm not going to go through each one. I think the logos and speak for themselves, but it's really important for us to be able to get those updates out and get that information out to our community, not just about things that are happening, but also about things that are just going on in the department, so everyone feels connected. And we really encourage people to connect on any of our social media channels or other pages, so we can engage and really keep a good, not only have a good understanding, but just to understand what's going on every single day within the city. And with that, on behalf of Chief Campfield and myself, I just want to thank everybody for the opportunity to present. It's just obviously a very quick snapshot, and like Chief mentioned earlier, of a very large amount of work over an entire year. But we are grateful to be able to share some of this information. And Chief Campfield, unless you have something else to add,
Just turn it back to the chair. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate that in-depth presentation. I know we all found it very interesting. I would open the floor for public comment, but I don't see any attendees. So,
One person online, but there's no comment.
okay, thank you for that. So barring any public comment, we will now open it to questions and comments from the committee.
Oh, right. I have 4. We're gonna get through this fast.
I have 9.
All right, first I want to suggest, because I had this when I lived back in Boulder, Colorado, an emergency magnet or an emergency sticker. And it just had the non-emergency line phone number, the emergency line, like other options, you know, gas, some other things. It was great. I had it on my magnet, and when I had something come up weird late at night, I didn't have to like go do a Google search and make sure that I got everything right. It was just like, oh, great, I can call these people and that kind of stuff. It was very helpful, and I think you could probably get one between some different departments and all that jazz. You've been talking about field training. So are you guys field training your dancing choreography for the 20th at Pride?
Heck
Like,
yeah.
I want to see, I want to see some
baby.
moves. Like, you guys got, I mean, you guys have this, like the exercise room. I mean, you guys obviously have the mirrors for the choreography, coordination. I'm excited.
Motion
Okay,
for a
I'm just
flash mob.
excited. Mhm.
27 Pride.
We can get those wheels rolling. We can get those wheels rolling.
Put it on the list. Headline.
You guys need new stickers. I have a 1-year-old. We have all your stickers. We need some refresh. Some variety. What you got for me?
are
Guess
you
we good?
aware of our stickers? They come out every single month.
Well, I have been getting a jack-o'-lantern for the last 3 months. So what was you telling me about? Oh,
Perhaps you're not a collaborative program that we have. Now, we receive funding from the Public Safety Foundation for this, but we do a monthly sticker. They're often themed. I wonder, Commissioner Smith, if you follow us on social media.
I don't have social media, so I don't.
I think that's the best possible anscer,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
we'll have a canine sticker. I don't know if I have enough.
With a soccer ball or
Perfect. Oh, so seasonally.
So to introduce,
Nice.
we have stickers. We do a monthly sticker special for kind of the theme of the month or different units. Last month's was our Special Olympics torch run. So we did a die cut torch that was kind of a shiny, if you will, like a shiny sticker. Probably one of our most expensive, but also one of our most popular stickers. So we still have some spare ones for those. I would encourage station or find.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Come on. I just got one yesterday and it was jack-o'-lantern.
We do both a fundraiser, but also the Special Olympics torch run to support Special Olympics. It is a big fundraiser for them. We raise a lot of money every year for an incredible program. So that was a great sticker.
All right. Last one is on the dogs. A lot of other agencies have dog trading cards, and I want to see if you guys are interested. Dog trading cards.
Trading cards. Got it.
Yeah, I'm not, well, trading cards, that could be cards, that would be even more interesting and very impressive training for dogs. But trading cards of dogs it's hot news on the kid front and the adult front actually. I have multiples from Malaysia. They're really awesome. Just FYI.
Okay.
It's cool.
Cool.
Oh,
Or maybe
whoa.
the animal control officer. Yeah, they have.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
right,
they do.
you're
Just
right.
saying, just saying.
You're right.
Mhm. I mean, if you guys want to stay cool.
I'm like, hey, cool, before I can stay.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Appreciate it.
I have 9, but these are. Okay, back to the trend report, if you guys want to go back to that. The trend that's property crime versus personal crime. I wanted to know if there are trends, this was just 2025, I just wanted to know if there are trends broken down by year, meaning going back 2024, 2023, et cetera, on the website, meaning you can reference it across both.
Transparency dashboard.
Thank you. See, that's just a yes or no.
They go back to 2021, which is when those data categories changed from
Great.
the FBI, so there are other categories beyond that.
Great. Next question, sorry. The breakdown of crimes. Property crimes versus some other crimes. Are traffic issues, accidents, et cetera, is that part of that crime data or is that a separate category?
That'll be separate.
Got it, separate category.
Traffic has its own category.
Unless somebody's using a vehicle as a weapon.
Correct.
Got it. Thank you.
So classic one is assault with a deadly weapon, which can't include.
Okay. No. Okay, and then you, sorry, this piqued my interest. Call from a park ranger? Like, what are the crimes? Are we talking crimes? Like
So
Anthony or
our
automobile?
public safety dispatchers dispatch for the Mid Peninsula Park Rangers. They have
I know.
everything from, missing persons or an injury on a trail. It can be a number of different needs. It can be car break-ins. Definitely don't leave things in your car in parks or anything. But it can kind of be whatever their public safety needs are. If they contact someone or they stop the car, they do have police officer powers. My understanding is that the Mid Peninsula Rangers are not armed, but they are peace officers in the state. So if they contact or detain somebody to issue them a citation, maybe for biking in an area they're not allowed to, they would radio that into our dispatchers, just like our officers.
Great, thank you. And in regards to community events, you mentioned some number of community events, which is a lot. Do these include neighborhood events like the CPNA does an ice cream social every year? We always get 3 officers and things like that.
Yes, but I'll be honest, there is not a great recording mechanism. I believe that we probably do 30%
Yeah.
more, maybe more, events that aren't recorded in some way, shape, or form, because when the request comes in, we always want to get to yes. If it's a standard kind of public event that we do, then we know to stat it. But if it's a kind of a neighborhood meeting that isn't recorded in some other way, sometimes they do fall off of our data logs.
Okay. Yeah, I think it'd be great to add those because, officers do a ton of work. in terms of engaging,
Coffee and donuts was
Very
good.
good point.
passing out stickers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we do coffee.
I love coffee with cup.
That's great. Okay, and you mentioned where there's complaints, 2 were substantiated, some were, the other were dismissed. How are these investigations handled? This is handled internally in the police department or is it handled externally through the third party?
Yeah, so they're handled primarily by our professional standards unit. That unit reports directly to me. So there's a professional standard unit sergeant. Now they're not the complaint sergeant because they also handle a lot more accolades and thank yous that come in for our officers. But they do handle all complaint investigations, whether they're internally initiated or externally. Now, we're not siloed off. We work very closely with the city attorney's office and with our HR department. In fact, any significant, what we would call a major internal affairs investigation or a major IA, meaning that if substantiated, somebody might lose a day off or even an hour of work. But you lose something other than you get something written. Those punishments and those investigations are collaborative with the HR department and the daylight, if you will, of the city attorney's office.
And then you mentioned,
If I may, also just to answer, I didn't quite answer one thing you specifically asked. If it's too challenging or too cumbersome of an investigation, we can have external investigators handle those. And that would be something that would be collaboratively done between the HR department and city.
and then you mentioned the resource officer also deals with housing referrals, 99 housing referrals. Are those cases followed up? Because I imagine there's recidivism in some of those sort of recurring personalities, right? So the housing referral was made and then the next time we see the same people over and over again.
Yeah, so that's not, those are not handled by our school resource officers, by our neighborhood events.
Right, sorry.
Yeah, Josh, yeah, I just want to make sure, okay. Yeah, so there is some follow-up
Right.
after the referral.
Mhm.
Obviously, it can become a little bit challenging in terms of if there's a referral made, but there's some onus on the person to follow up. But if there's some assistance in us to help them get to that referral, get to that agency, we offer whatever we can to help in those situations. So yes, there is some follow-up with it. It's not just here's where you go and hopefully you get there. It's This is how you can get there. This is how we can help you get there. And we do have other outside resources with the county that they can reach out to help with those situations that may be a little more complex or maybe just a little bit more than our officers in the unit can handle. But they do keep their finger on the pulse of those to make sure that they have that opportunity to get there and the resources are provided.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just chime in if you might, Captain Carl. They serve as a bridge. So, we don't, have a few resources. We don't have a lot of resources. We bridge to resources. Our community outreach officers know the people that have the resources. And because we're police officers, frankly, we come in contact with people who need those resources. So their purpose in that regard is to connect those folks. It's 99 permanent housing referrals, which means there's a formal county form. There's a process that's done. It is purposeful. It's not 99 conversations. There's probably 1,000 conversations. There's 99 of these people that have agreed and they connected to these services. But it's not adding 1,000. They're not 99 people that they fill out the form and then they all get housing. It is a long-term relationship, and a lot of times it's a lot of conversations, a lot of engagement, and finding the person when they're at a point they're ready for those services.
2 more. Body cam. You mentioned you can see the live stream, et cetera. How is that data stored? What's the security?
It's through Amazon Web Services. So I will say, having lived through a vendor nightmare with Amazon or Web Services is where our Axon officer worn camera footage is stored. It is the gold standard for officer worn cameras for data storage. It goes directly to the district attorney's office. They have a portal access. As many problems as there have been with other types of data access, the footage has not been leaked, has not been hacked out of AWS. Any officer worn cameras. Now, could somebody in the burn it on the floppy drive and then leave it somewhere they could? We have protocols. We have protocols for how this is distributed. There's records and logs. Unlike Flock Safety, there are access logs that record everyone who looks at, accesses and shares, and touches it in any way, shape, or form. And you can't change them. We do have the ability to erase an image. Let's say a camera was turned on in the locker room or something like that. It is a very strict process that has daylight by myself. That doesn't mean I look at it, but I'm made aware we have one specific designated personnel within the organization that is in charge of erasing those when, very rarely, but when needed. And they also are the ones that share those with the attorney's office.
Thank you. Last one. Do you guys get calls coming in or requests coming in from the Ask MV? Because a lot of times these questions are asked on like the Mountain View Mom site and people just say, go to Ask MV, even though it's actually a PD issue. And then do you track that, right?
Yes.
As part of the call process.
Yeah, through the Ask MV, you can, if they go to there, they can actually specifically select the police department.
Yeah.
So it's depending on the type of question, it will get farmed out within the department to the correct area, whether it's something for our neighborhood prevent services, whether it's our school resource offices. We have people in place that goes to that they can answer it, and all that is true.
Thank you.
Additional questions?
We're like the talkingest group ever.
You've already had your turn.
That's right. That's right.
Like 9.
I know.
Mine were fun.
We can go back around, guys.
Go ahead.
All right. Thank you two for coming evening to meet with us. I do have several questions. First, Chief, you and I have been in several spaces talking to community members, respectively, with immigration enforcement. We're just a few days away from the World Cup. My question to you is, or to both of y'all really is there any plans of future outreach that are going to be conducted to let community members know pathways for reinforcing statements that our MVPD has made on not collaborating with ICE on civic matters and such, or how to get connected with the Rapid Response Network?
So I don't know about the Rapid Response Network specifically, but I do know that the city was working on as a larger city communication, a reaffirmation very similar to what was done with Super Bowl related to FIFA to reaffirm and to make clear the Mountain View Police Department's role in in public safety and our prohibition, if you will, on civil immigration enforcement. So I believe that was in works, and I could ask Ms. James if she knows if it's come out yet. Are you familiar with anything coming out of either the CMO or perhaps not?
Thank you, Chief. I can't speak to that, unfortunately.
Uh, we will take a look. I'll follow up and see where that is, but I know it has been discussed.
Okay. No, thank you for that. I think one of our committee members asked questions about this with respect to Flock. There prior to the Flock implementation for real estate, residents were concerned about its implementation, especially when it came to privacy. Unfortunately, right, we got to witness what happens when a partner acts in bad faith or doesn't really communicate with us. But I guess like on top of it being like a failure from the vendor, is this also a part in our part for leaning too heavily on settings that we couldn't independently verify? Because my concern is that if that's the case, then if MVPD is proposing new surveilling systems, and if so, what are the new criteria that if that's going to be fulfilled, and when does the public actually get to weigh in on that?
Yeah, if it's okay, I'll answer the last portion first. I'm not proposing, not the police department is not proposing either internally or externally to have a new program. Really reviewing and looking at what is out there, what would meet our expectations, what community expectations would be related to if we did have another program. But I am unwavering in my belief that the technology, when used correctly, reduces community harm. It was technology that was actually requested to me at Cafecito meetings and at other community meetings because of the disproportionate impact of crime on our marginalized communities. It is very impactful to have one's car stolen or your tools broken and taken out of your car if you're living in a kind of paycheck to paycheck situation. So it is a significant impact. It's a valuable tool. It's not something that we are going to rush into, and certainly not something that I would be interested in proposing without having significant community feedback. I think that I am deeply disappointed that we did not see the access leaks sooner. Having said that, I'm not familiar with anyone finding out before we did, or much before we did. And I'm very proud of how we handled it when we did discover it. I'll give you an example. When we first got our data, we were doing our external audits. So our internal audits were happening very regularly, external less frequently, because we would look at the agencies that had access, and we would ensure that the agencies that had access had signed an MOU with Mountain View Police Department, which was a much higher level of standard. When we first got data to start looking at our external access, it came in a raw data form. That's a very challenging for laypersons to be able to navigate through that. Now we were able to request it and have it changed and put in the CSV format so that we could do those audits, and so that Captain Crowell did those audits. But it speaks to the fact that we were pushing to make sure that this was being done right. I wish we would have done it sooner. Certainly, and I'm very sorry that we did not. There are lessons learned and very highlighted at a very detailed level in a staff report that we submitted to the City Council. And I would encourage everyone to take a look at it. It will also highlight a lot of the steps that I think would be necessary before we move forward. So it's speaking with community groups, creating programs to ensure methods to ensure that the data is being utilized in the manner in which a vendor would be telling us that it is, assuming that this is a vendor-based program and not internal. So there's a lot to unpack, Commissioner, and we're certainly not proposing that we just jump into some other program.
For sure.
Quick follow-up with that. I keep hearing, about we're moving forward. The one thing that I'm going to make sure of, are we being compensated for this? Was this a breach of contract? Or because you kept saying promise, they promise. If we don't have it in language, promise is nothing. And if it is in the language, we need recourse for this. Because we spent a lot of money on this. per month. We need to make sure that we get recourse for this if they breach the contract.
Yeah, so I would say that those are issues that the city attorney's office looks at and was discussing. I can't speak to, and honestly, unless there was some kind of something that had been made publicly, it really would be inappropriate for me to comment on it. But those would be issues that fall under the city attorney's purview. It would be their responsibility. I think that the review of the contracts, determination if there is a breach of contract, those are all standard and appropriate questions for the city attorney's office to review. But I'm certainly not capable of providing an answer. But I appreciate your position. I think it's a very reasonable position. Opinion to report.
So I'm hoping that going forward, since you are the person that's very close to this program, you're in that contract, making sure that language is there. I read contracts every day, so I know how painful it is. But the devil's in the detail. If you live it, you know it, you're the one that can redline it. So hopefully that happens, but if not, I want to make sure the city attorney's covering that, because that's our money, that's our tax dollars that's being wasted.
I appreciate that.
So
No, you're fine. Thank you for that. I wanted to talk on the homelessness enforcement, especially with the RV situation. So I think if I heard correctly, the 99 housing referrals were the successful ones that were being relayed to us through this overview. Is that correct?
Those ones that were done directly through the county's required process, filling out the form, entering it into the system. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. For sure. So like, I guess my question is the enforcement of, people who are either overextending your stay in a 72-hour zone, far exceeding the amount of resources that we're able to offer the individual or even able to provide shelter services.
Can you say that one more time?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. I guess what I'm saying is the enforcement of the policy. I think there's, which I'll go on to with like the Navarro case, right? Because I think that's my concern with the upcoming years that's about to come on. Are we able? So I saw that we had 1,300 citations, right, for folks who violate that. Are we able to offer just as many resources to those individuals who got those citations at that rate? And if we are, like, is there anywhere that we're recording that data to show, one, how many of those have actually received resources, two, of those, how many actually got help through services, whether locally or county-wide, and three, of those referrals, how many of them were actually?
Yes. So I'll say that as part of that Navarro settlement, we do provide resources and information to everyone that receives a warning or citation through our enforcement. There are recommendations that our community outreach officers are not just parking enforcement officers that are targeting our say they engage, communicate, and create relationships with their living vehicles. It is not illegal to live in a vehicle in the city of Mountain View. It is illegal if it's leaking sewage or if you have items in the right of way, like a generator. So they try to educate folks first. If that's not successful, or if it's something like sewage, then you get more direct enforcement actions. It is not kind of all one and not the other. There are resources available. Certainly, I don't think that anyone could say in good faith that there are as many resources readily available as the people that need those resources. But we are lucky enough to have a lot of great community partners, and our community outreach officer and his sergeant, they work hand in hand to make sure that those resources are available. So whether it's home key, our safe lots, a number of different services that are available for folks to make those housing referrals.
So yeah, and then I guess lastly, part of the question, sorry, yes, to me, was like, are we recording the data too, right? So especially with the vehicles that aren't operable or are just faulty because of whatever reason, right? Are we tracking that data? actually getting shelter services. As they can know, again, it's not illegal to live in an RV or in a vehicle, but it might be uninhabitable at a certain point. So are we tracking that information? Or are we not? Is that just
I think, yeah, if I were to answer that, I could say with a fair amount of confidence that every person that the unit contacts, whether it's just doing throughout the course of a day or there's some enforcement action or the formal referrals, they are offered and those services are trying to get to them. In terms of a formal tracking that I don't know if there's the tracking that says that every time it's offered, because I think offered is the formal sense like we talked about, but also like, hey, can we help you with anything? Is there anything that we can get to you today? What do you need right now? And they can tell us no. So I don't know if that specific, getting that granular is tracked.
Yeah, I don't believe the outcome, like the kind of wraparound outcome is tracked. I could be wrong, but the forms that folks fill out related to any type of enforcement. So if they go up for enforcement or a contact, I don't think that there's a clean way to come back and say, this person received it on this day versus denied it on another day. We don't have any systems that are in place that can track that. We've been building data systems to better track, but there are not great programs out there that we have seen that would
for sure.
that would likely probably like an AI blending of taking data from different systems and then being able to bring it back together. Otherwise it would have to be manually done, which would take our folks out of the field. So we would really look for auto populating as much as possible or staff front loading very quickly data entry, but a significant amount of like pouring through data to look for those outcomes could literally impede the ability to get those outcomes.
Thank you for that. And I'll pause right there.
You want to get one?
One last one. Are we increasing personnel at the downtown crossings? Because I've almost been hit 3 times. People are treating it more like a stop sign, red lights, like a stop sign rather than a red light. And it's getting bad.
So the intersections downtown, like coming by Castro Street, or where
Yep,
would you
up
say?
and down Castro.
We do have targeted enforcement that is downtown. However, it's targeted in a large portion of how we determine where it's targeted is based on feedback from the community. So you don't have to do an Ask Mountain View right now. We'll make a note of it. But the more of that feedback we can get, the better.
Okay.
I can tell you, we get feedback from bus drivers who talk about not being able to make right-hand turns from Hope onto Villa Street because cars are parked in the red, and then we really look for red curb violators to address those safety issues because then it pushes the bus out wide. So we are looking for safety issues specifically in our downtown area, but really we want to deploy the resources to where people are seeing.
Okay, so you want that?
But
I wrote it down and I'm going to ensure that information gets directly to our traffic unit,
Yeah.
especially with a heavily populated pedestrian area like
Yeah.
what you're talking about.
Gotten scary
Um,
a few
We'll make
times.
sure that information gets to the traffic team so they can do some focused enforcement.
Thank you.
In the last month or so, I've had a number of people talk to me about the fact that pedestrians legally have the right of way, but drivers around here don't know that or don't care, one of the two. And I've talked with a number of different people asking if they have some kind of solution that they'd like to offer. And interestingly, recently, a number of people have said, can we have signs saying pedestrians have the right of way at intersections that are experiencing a lot of violation of that law?
That's something we'll share with our transportation division. That would not be a decision by the police department. I will say it can be a little bit confusing. If a vehicle has started first and has crossed the threshold of essentially the crosswalk, and they're starting into the intersection, once they start, a pedestrian can't step into the roadway and then have the right of way. The car actually had, if they're there first, whomever is there first has the right of way. When a pedestrian's there, you still can't hit them. But if the car starts, the pedestrian is supposed to wait for the car to pass and then go. And I've been on the receiving end of vehicles not following the right of way and not giving the right of way to pedestrians. But I've also been driving downtown. I have also been driving downtown, even in a police vehicle, and as I'm starting, have people walk out into an intersection, and then I have to stop in the crosswalk or in a kind of a gridlock situation. And of course, you have to allow a pedestrian to cross, but they have actually committed a vehicle code violation and violated my right of way. I see both of those far too frequently.
One of the things that I've seen is that the pedestrian starts across and the driver come after the pedestrian has started. And instead of just stopping and letting the pedestrian cross, the driver edges around, especially if they're making a turn or something, edges around, and it almost looks intimidating, deliberately intimidating of the pedestrian.
It is very illegal. That is absolutely illegal. Even if the pedestrian should have taken more time and let the car go, you're not allowed to go through the intersection when the pedestrian is walking there. We do significant amount of OTS or Office of Traffic Safety, targeted enforcement, where we're even wanting to look for, we look specifically for often the main indicators or causes of accidents, pedestrian stop sign violations and pedestrian crosswalk violations are a frequent one that our traffic officers look for and often write citations for.
Did you suggest, or what agency did you suggest that I have people check about signage?
So they can do an Ask Mountain View. It would be the Transportation Department. They can go into Ask Mountain View and make a request. However, the request that you're relaying, certainly we can speak with our traffic engineers and let them know that the request has been made. They may want more specifics related to which intersections and where, so they can give a more thorough professional evaluation of it. But at least at a high level, that's something that I can relay, or Captain Carl can relay to our traffic engineering.
Thank you.
My turn now.
You go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
I got it.
I just have two quick questions, and thank you for speaking specifically about the situation with Flock. For context, I work for the city of San Jose, and so we've had a lot of conversations about Mountain View and what you guys do with your Flock contract versus how we work with that specific vendor and AI tools generally. So I wanted to ask what other AI tools the department has adopted.
So we are not deploying AI tools right now. I'm certainly interested in AI translation services. That is a tool that our officer work cameras can do, where they can translate in real time any number of languages. So I think there is a test case or application. I know from other experiences on that. We are not rushing into new technology without giving a very honest, thorough review. There are technologies related to cold case investigations, reviewing of copious amounts of data that are AI driven that I believe district attorneys' offices and others that are very thorough with their processes as well are using. Those are things we'll look at, but not things that we're going to rush into. But I believe that there is a place for that type of technology with very thoughtful constraints.
Awesome. And yeah, I know that other departments have also adopted automatic transcription for police reports as well. And there have been some concerns expressed in the community about mistranslation with, the body cams and potentially escalating a situation because of a mistranslation or similarly in a police report. AI is not perfect. And I think on camera usage specifically, has the Mountain View Police Department entered in any agreements with local businesses or small businesses to connect to their cameras in real time in case of emergency? Or do you guys have like any kind of real-time intelligence system?
We do not have any written agreements with private parties or corporate parties to allow us to have 24/7 access or be able to log into their data system.
Thank you.
No, and
Okay.
once this item is over, then we're gonna head out. But certainly if there are questions or things you want to discuss that are unrelated to the annual report, or if you just want to reach out in general, by all means, please reach out.
Thank you.
My turn? Want to pull the deck up for me, please?
Yes, I do.
We'll start. I won't be long. Forward, yeah. Okay. Thank you guys for doing it. And I was here last year for your first one, and I got a little time to digest what was going on. One thing that I would love to see from you guys going forward is some year-over-year analysis. Right, so if we're seeing this in that way, it'll help us understand what's going on. Case in point is, if you're doing like the NES activities and you're doing the violations, we just implemented the street signs, right? So we want to make sure that how effective are they? Is it this year to last year, we went from 500 to 1,300? Is that a problem? Is there a solution? Then we can get deeper into the data. So we definitely want to have that. One of the other things I'd love to get from you next year for the committee, especially for new people, is a small demo of the tool. If you're saying get into it, just a slight demo. So see people how to navigate. Not everyone is tech savvy, right? So just say, hey, log in here, point, click. And maybe say these are some of the things that you can do with data. Maybe a simple download of like a CSV file, or what you want to do it into a PowerPoint or whatever the case may be. That would be amazing, right? I live and breathe data all day long, right? So this stuff is easy for me, and I'm thinking about it constantly. And especially since we're on this committee and we're going with you every single year, we're going to have that history, right? So if you're loading it up, it's like, we remember the conversation about the flock system. So I remember hearing you, talking to you about it, and then seeing it on paper, seeing what's going on. I'm on some chat groups and I'm hearing the chatter about it, right? So we know, so we want to see that trend now. This is our second time doing it. 3, 4, 5 years. Once you hit 5 years, do a 5-year recap, those kind of things, so that we can digest it all together. See, I'm not negative. I'm just saying, giving a little bit of feedback. Property crimes. All other larceny is a black hole. You never want to see a black hole with a large percentage of it. We need to figure out what it means. You guys know, we don't know. Right? And again, it's just about what's in the data. And if it means less than 1% of this, that, and the other, I'd rather see a long line of percentages than some lump number in there. That's so
I would just,
so vast.
that's a great point. There's a way for us to break out and describe what would fall in there to help.
Yeah.
It is unfortunately, the manner in which some of that data is reported is wrote and structured by the FBI, but we can do better with that. I don't think I can break it down with all the different types because they don't correlate it differently, but we can definitely explain in a better way what that all other larceny is.
Yeah, and if there's something in there that's higher, if there's something that dominates that, call it out. Let's see. Crimes, trends, property crimes. I also picked out, when you're doing this now, we want to see, or I would like to see, like your per capita in comparison for other cities same size. Right? We need to do same size or also do within our area as well. Are we compared to Palo Alto? But also, are we compared to Kalamazoo, which is the same size? You know, those kind of things are important. And also, when I'm looking at these numbers, you know, I want to be able to speak to, hey, 2285 or 2825 and 2942, that's a half of a six change, right? Why isn't that going down more? Right? I don't want to see crime in the city. I don't want to see it. Why is it not changing? If it's flat, that's great. If it's going up, that's horrible. But I want to see it on the down. What are you guys doing to change that? And what programs are you putting in place? This is something that the citizens want to know. You know, because I want to feel safe. When I see this, I'm especially not safe when I walk around here. I don't feel comfortable when I see numbers like that. So nothing's changing. Nothing's changing in my city to make me feel safe. Same thing with the crosswalks. I want to feel safe, and the data tells me I'm not safe.
Yeah, I want to very respectfully. We are a very safe city. There is crime in our city, but it is a very safe city.
But if you don't say it in comparison to other cities, how do I?
Um,
Right. That's why I'm saying the data will help us understand
Yeah,
that.
I hear what you're saying. This is a standalone, this is a Mountain View annual report. I think there's a place for that. Some of that is done in our budget report where we list within the larger cities. So we can perhaps highlight that.
Just
Yeah,
like I
and
said,
you
this
can
is
bring-
high level. Just
You
a
can
pop,
bring it back.
just a little, you know, like a
wanna-
little call out.
I want to just be frank. All agencies do not report data in the exact same way. And don't take reports. So I just want to kind of throw that out as an acknowledgement.
Yeah, no, I see data in all different forms all the time. And, but what I'm asking for our committee, and if anyone else has other ways of saying it, and this is trial and error. You try it,
Yeah.
if we don't like it, we say, hey, we don't need that. But if we say, put it out there, and then it works, then we continue on. Right? Because these are concerns that we constantly have. And we're glad you're here telling us this, so that we can give you that feedback, so that we can all sit back and talk later on and say, yeah, I like that. Now I can go out and tell, because I'm conveying this, I'm on a chat group with people in my department. When I get done, I'm gonna go back to them and I'm gonna tell them. So I'm helping them to make sure that Mountain View is a great place to live. Our city, our police department is working hard. They gave us the data, they talked to us about it. And I want to be able to answer the questions because those questions are going to come up. Yeah, when I was sitting down, my neighbor by the mailbox that was just broken into, that we had to go pick up our mail over somewhere for like a month and a half. They've already asked me, when's that going to get fixed? Or are they going to fix it? And I said, oh wait, I think that was part of that crew that we caught through the tracking, and the city was on it, and they said, this is what's going to happen. Right. Anyway, last one, because I don't want to. With your canine. Canine, everyone loves dogs, et cetera, et cetera. One thing that I understood that I really liked was where they don't attack. They stop. That should be a best practice. I'm wondering if you guys are going to, because I know you guys go to a lot of events or conferences. If you're sharing that information at your conferences in some way, shape, or form, that would be good for us to hear back. Because I know you say, yeah, we do this, not others do it, but we're trying to encourage them to do it. So that's something that I think would be great to if you guys are promoting that. And then lastly,
Maybe your training cards.
yeah. AWS, how long is that contract? You know?
So AWS is the service that Axon, which is the company that secures, that makes the device, charges us for the data storage. They make good devices, but they're a data storage company.
Yeah, data store.
And they use AWS. So we have contracts with Axon. We don't have contracts with AWS for the Axon content.
Okay, how long is that contract?
Our Axon contract, they come generally, it's kind of industry standard to either be 5 or 10-year contracts. And I think we have 7, I think it's 7 years left on a 10-year contract.
And then you'll start your RFI, your RFQ about 2-3 years before that?
In 7 years, Chief Crowell will be there.
Well, cheap.
Yeah. Yeah, there will be, it'll be very interesting to see what technology, what vendors. Right now, I'll be frank, the quality of the technology, the ability to share data in a secured manner is not rivaled by any competitor. Axon is by far the best product, the most secure, the best to use, that supports our work. So right now, that's the case. In 7 years, we'll be looking to see who else is a player, what their costs are, and how we can be responsible with our city funds.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
No, Eric does.
Chair. Thank you, Chair. So on page 26, it's mentioned that transparency portals stop data by demographics and reason contact wasn't provided here. Is that something that will be provided in the larger report that people hopefully go in depth, or is that something that could also be provided to this body on it being broken down by race and outcome of those stops?
It's like as a separate page in the future, or is that something?
Yeah, like something
for in the future?
something in the future, or I'm also asking for like 30 that's that information. I know Javier had committee member Webb had mentioned about like kind of just the navigation of it, but also the transparency portion of it as well. Just having those numbers in front of us, being able to see like how are we doing, especially given the diversity of this community Mountain View, tend to be the outliers that we should be taking note of in order to ensure like the city's welcoming for all. Right? So that's kind of like my thought process on that. That's a plausible avenue or information that can be relayed to brought back to the commission at the next years.
Staff can take that recommendation on submission. It's interesting. We can look and see how we can look to apply that. Data is complex. Traffic stop data. There's a lot of analysis. One of the things that we have done in the past is apply what we believe is the gold standard for contact and stop data, which is the veil of darkness test. So that is to stop a car during daylight savings time or ordinary time, and to look at the stop data when you can see what somebody who looks like inside the car, and then during the time of the year when you can't, see if there's a change. So if you're stopping folks when you can see what they look like and then what those outcomes are, that is research that we had done in the past, and very proud of the results that came from that. Our transparency portal does have a lot of this data, so I think there's probably a way where we can break out some of that into either the presentation or the annual report, or at least in the annual report, steer folks to it should they be interested in that specifically.
That'd be great. Thank you. And then my last question was on the crisis response section. So I'm glad to hear, and I've also experienced how our NDPD interact with folks with mental health, which has been like superb, honestly. But I guess my question is going to be like, who responds in a situation where it's dealing with someone with a mental health crisis? Is it usually an officer or a clinician? And is there any plan to expand to a co-responder model in the future?
Yes, so there are a number of services available and organizations that we work with. Mobile Crisis Response Team, when we respond with them, that is a co-responder model. But there's also the Trust Team, and they have, although we collaborate with them, they're not a co-responder model. Where they will respond independently, and if they believe that we are needed, then they will reach out and elevate their request. Our dispatchers are able to transfer now folks to 988 for mental health services, as well as dispatching police services. So there's a criteria system supplied, and then they evaluate if it's a 988 available or appropriate, or if it's a police department services being dispatched to those incidents.
So this is all like over the phone. There's not, with the exception of trust.
Well, Mobile Crisis Response Team
Mobile
is
crisis.
in person. There's also a uplift services, so youth services for something similar. But we do not have I guess the police acronyms, but like a PERT model where we have a clinician in a car with an officer. We don't have a PERT model. If we did look at it, I don't think that we have the volume of calls to justify it, thankfully. And I know that there have been some real significant challenges in agencies being able to staff and maintain their PERT teams because shift work and essentially field pseudo police work is very difficult, and many of the clinicians establish themselves and then move to more regular hours, more safe working conditions. So they build that resume and then they would leave. And that created a lot of challenges, but also very hard to fill in the very first place. So very hard for many agencies that had on paper PERT teams, but they were not able to fill those positions. My understanding, and this is not my subject of expertise, but the county has some really significant financial challenges, and that has been a struggle for PERT teams as well. I know that they did approach and ask if we were interested in funding a program for a number of years. The staff, the call volume didn't justify full-time staff for that, but certainly we're continuing to leverage those relationships, train and communicate and work with our mobile crisis response team and the other services that are available.
Thank you, Chief.
I'd like to just take a moment to do kind of a temperature check for our meeting. We're approaching the 2-hour mark, and I really appreciate the presentation and all the information. I want to make sure that we're all getting all of our questions answered. I guess I just want to suggest that maybe we take like a 5-minute break after the presentation, just kind of so folks can plan for that. And then, do you guys have any particular like time? Or I mean, I'm not saying we're going to keep you here another 2 hours, but
When your questions are
I have a
okay.
we're sure.
No, I think
Okay. Okay. Well, I just want to make sure. So I would like to ask my top questions, and then if anybody else has any burning ones, maybe we could do like a. Would you like to go, Joan?
On the page that is crime trends, property crime, and the next page is crime trends person. And I think it would be helpful down below the chart on both of these pages to give the population of what we do. On 23, 24, 25. So we have a sense of whether the property crimes are actually lower relative to the population or the reverse.
So one of the interesting things about crime is that it affects people who live here, don't live here. It is committed by people who visit and who live here. So the population, that's a tough one to tie, but we can tether crimes per 1,000 residents, et cetera. That is something that we can provide. But just want to point out that a lot of folks, unfortunately, when they're victims of crime, may be visiting, and folks committing those crimes may be visiting.
Police blotters on the Daily Post and other places indicate where the people who were arrested or are actually resident, so that we get a sense that all these crimes.
That's information that we share with them, that we provide to them.
Exactly.
We don't say like a Mountain View man was arrested for, or a Palo Alto resident was.
I think I'd like to ask a top questions that are my priorities here. And first of all, thank you very much for the presentation. And, I really appreciate getting to hear everyone's questions and the detailed answers. Something that I was wondering, it sounds like, I mean, clearly, Valley Police is a very desirable place to work. We're doing great on filling staff roles. And I imagine you pull recruits from a wide area, very highly qualified. I'm wondering how many staff members, what's your estimate, live in or near Mountain View? And by that, I mean their commute is sub 1 hour.
Far fewer than I would like, frankly. And also some of those officers may start closer, but then move further away. It's not uncommon.
Not just tough to live in Mountain View.
I think more the challenge is in the cost of living and the reality of housing in the Bay Area. So it's less about wanting to live in Mountain View. Perhaps maybe at a point in the 90s or different time that was a concern, but I think if I was to poll my folks, they would say it's the cost, and if the housing was more affordable in Mountain View, they would like to be more inclined to. I have also noticed a pattern where folks want to buy single family homes, so when they're buying residences, they're less inclined to buy multi-unit or buy into a multi-unit dwelling and rather buy a single family home, and that is tough, if not impossible, to do in the city of Mountain View on a police officer's salary.
Thank you for that.
But it is a concern. We address it with we have sleeping quarters, we have shifts that are amenable for longer commutes, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday shifts that are longer shifts that have more time off. It is an industry problem, at least in the Bay Area and large parts of Los Angeles. So I think really anywhere where there is high cost of living, it is an issue.
Thank you for that. And then regarding person crimes at a glance, prostitution offenses. Does this number, or I guess what I'm wondering about is how does this number reflect or not reflect prostitution busts? And I'm not, because the reason it's a top of mind for me is because there was recently a brothel busted in my townhouse complex. And I was like, oh, hey, that's what all that was about, you know? And I was like, boy, there sure were a lot of weird dudes around. But anyway, and reading about it, I saw that it's general practice to not arrest the women who are there, because, and I agree with this, they are most often victims of human trafficking. But I'm also wondering, what can you tell us about the trend of that in Mountain View? Because it seems like that statistic might not be the full picture. I know that down there with that bust recently, there was 2 massage parlors in December. I'm just wondering kind of what's the current trend on that issue of Mountain View.
Yeah, so that's a really astute and nuanced observation. I appreciate it. So the shift has been to not necessarily arrest all those folks who are working as sex workers in a home with prostitution. A term is actually a house of ill repute in the penal code. But it doesn't mean that they can't. It really is a work. We work in collaboration very closely with our human trafficking task force. So those are things that we lean both on a county protocol, but also on subject matter experts that are going to come out in the field whenever possible with us to collaborate. But you're right. One, the title, again, coming from the federal government, so we don't get to pick the title, but it does not encapsulate folks who in one of those residences and working as sex workers, but not arrested for prostitution, but are contacted. Also, one can be contacted, but So there can be challenges to making an arrest. So there's, without getting into all the details of vice work, for lack of a better term, it's more common to contact one and believe that they're engaging in that illegal activity than it is to be able to arrest them for it.
Thank you. And then final question, actually, one is just a comment. You mentioned the women's self-defense classes as outreach. I took one of those. I really enjoyed it. Thanks for that. Yeah, and last, I appreciate all the information about the flock contract and all that. I'm wondering, are there flock cameras on private property that are operating, or is that is it something that apartment complexes could install their own? And if so, are they still operating? Because I remember last year when I asked you about mail theft, you mentioned that that one of the only things that you can really concretely suggest as something they could do is to install a camera such as Flock. This obviously was before all we knew more about that company. I'm wondering, to your knowledge, are there any Flock cameras operating on private property or under private property contracts? And if so, what is your outreach and messaging to them or to those
So
businesses?
it wouldn't be appropriate for me to reach out to a business if they did have a flock contract and make a recommendation either way. That's not my position. My position is informed by my experience and my disappointment. I don't know if any private businesses have flock license plate reader cameras. I do think that having cameras up on private property is a great way to prevent crime, or at least help us to evade that crime in the future, whether it be a license plate reader camera or just a standard camera that every driveway. Those are powerful tools, but we don't have access to any. There was one private party vendor when we had a flock license plate reader program. They had cameras. They provided us with those access to those cameras. That is no longer in place, but we haven't asked them what they're doing. Anything to add to that?
No, yeah, I'm not aware of any either. I know there's been some headlines about specific companies that have them, but I'm not aware of any in Mountain View that have those.
I appreciate that. That's the end of my questions. I don't know if anybody has any burning last minute ones, or it's not. Oh, wait, sorry. One last thing. Can you text 911?
You can text 911.
Okay, you can.
Does that go to Mountain View or does that just go to?
Like
I would recommend calling and not.
yeah, but if you're in a situation where you don't want, you want to be quiet, you can text
You
911.
can text 911. It should go to us, but with all things cell phone, I can't guarantee that.
Yeah,
Is that consistent in most cities around here, or is that like a city by
I
city
don't-
situation? Or- Okay, there's
It's
like
a
many
question,
things.
Chair, and that's certainly something we can circle back on if you, and maybe to that point, if there are other questions that you think of later, or that you just want to reach out and communicate with Captain Crowell, right, by all means, it's the same thing I tell everybody in the community, but certainly with your questions, it's even more so. Please reach out to us with questions. We want to hear it, and we want to be able to, whether they're things you're curious about or things that other people are curious about. It really does inform the work product or the things that we do. So please reach out.
I did have from my community chat. We're over by the Crestview Motel area, and there's an Enterprise rent-a-car there. And it's now a parking lot on Crestview of all Enterprise rentals. And they're wondering what can they do because there's no parking. And they've got vans, it's basically their fleet parking lot.
Yeah.
So that's one of the concerns that people in our area have.
I can see why that was very, very frustrating. That's something that we will follow up with CDD with community development, because it would depend on their licenses. I don't know. Certainly businesses can park in the public right of way. You can't do business out of the public right of way, but you can park vehicles in the public right of way but there may be more recourse that's non kind of PD criminal, more applicable. But that doesn't sound like a great way to live if you can't park on the street because it's full of rental cars. I would be very frustrated as well.
So it came up in one of our chats.
That's a great question.
Well, thank you very much, Chief Canfield and Captain Crowell. I really appreciate you coming out. And I guess Analyst James, or wait, let me see how to post this.
Can I make a recommendation?
Sure.
I recommend that we skip the work plan and wrap up the meeting with the meeting for next year and then come back to the work plan at the following meeting.
Thank you, committee member Yan, for that question. Unfortunately, no, the work plans will be coming to council for approval on September 8th.
But I would like to propose that we take a 5-minute break. Get some water, get a snack.
Thank you, Chief Captain.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys very much, very much.
Very much.
appreciated.
We will see you back, all back here at about 8:50.
I wanted to play music.
Motion to approve.
Alright. Okay, folks, we are now resuming the human relations at 8:54 PM. Okay, moving on to our next item, the fiscal year 26-27 work plan. The committee will now receive a presentation on this item from Principal Management Analyst James. The committee may take action on this.
Thank you, Chair. I will keep my oral presentation brief. City Council policies require every board, commission, and committee to submit a recommended work plan for approval annually. And at the last HRC meeting on May 7th, committee members had the opportunity to put forth potential projects for the fiscal year 26-27 work plan, including outreach and events, capacity building, civil discourse workshop, and celebrating women, community lived experience survey, 2 projects related to child and parent care, a new parent and family roundtable or childcare resources package, a project on community stability and affordability, and a partnership with schools. Since that meeting, staff has prepared a brief analysis based on criteria that the committee approved, which is included in attachment 2 to the memorandum for this item. And in short, the projects recommended for consideration for inclusion in the work plan are outreach and events capacity building and the civil discourse workshop. The item that may be recommended for consideration with amendments is the event in celebration of women, and the remainder of the projects are not recommended for consideration on the basis either of their lack of alignment with the HRC specific scope or the high capacity required or the high capacity required to complete those events or projects. With that said, this is a reminder that staff recommends adding up to 2 projects to the current work plan, given the current workload and carry forward projects, with potentially the second added project being started following the completion of one of the current work plan projects. The recommended work plan, as prepared by staff, is available in attachment 1 to the item memo. And with that, I will open it up for questions. Thank you, Principal Management Analyst James. Any committee members want to kick off the questions? Committee member.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, committee.
Thank you, Chair. So good to clarify if for the Celebration Women work plan project idea, if we accept the alternative, which is to work with an expert partner, it would move to medium, meaning we could approve it as a potential item that HRC could work on. Correct?
Staff currently recommends if the committee gives it's a strong preference collectively for holding an event in celebration of women in fiscal year 26-27, that they consider swapping that event for the civil discourse workshop or consider staggering the events so that the active work plan projects are never more than 3 projects at a time.
So we can do both, but like it would just have to be offset. It wouldn't be something that after one finishes, we could potentially work on the
That would be statute.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I like,
Me too.
Okay. So, do you want to make a motion? Which, but after, if anyone has any questions prior to this. Oh, public comment, right. I've been gone from chair so long.
Seeing no The committee questions?
So,
No, you
so when you were saying if we stagger this, let's say we do something for celebrate when on the community and the event takes place in 2027. Would that count fiscal year?
Yes, that would be in the fiscal year of the work plan, which will run from July 1st, 26 through June 30th, 27. That said, there are several work plan projects that are carrying forward that are currently planned to complete it in the first half of this. So there may be the opportunity to stagger the other two.
And so is this, they're not recommending the child and parent care, is that what they're saying?
That's correct. Per staff's analysis, those projects are not specifically aligned with the HRC's scope, and they are focused on a policy area that the council has not delegated to the HRC and has continued to work on at the council level. And in addition, with regard to the childcare resources package, there are several programs that fall into a very similar category. For example, a new state diaper distribution program that provides, I believe it's 400 diapers to all families leaving the hospital with a newborn. As well as the Mountain View Public Library's new collaboration with the county to deliver free books to children from birth through age 5 with Dolly Parton's Imagination Library, as well as services provided through Pacific Clinics at 2 locations in Mountain View at their family resource centers.
Could we adjust this instead to say, to do something where we're helping to promote these organizations?
What I would recommend is to consider including those materials for those programs in the outreach toolkit project. So in the process of creating an events list and an outreach toolkit, the outreach toolkit, pardon me, could potentially include collateral or material for different programs that the HRC would like to share information about.
If there are no other questions or comments, can I move forward with the motion to approve the?
We need to
Go
open the
ahead.
work plan. We need to acknowledge that.
Okay.
Okay, so seeing no other questions or comments, and there are no members of the public present, we'll open the floor for public comment. No members of the public present. We can now move on to,
Can I motion to approve except to remove the child parent care and the partnership with schools projects from the work plan, given that we are not on those 2 items? It seems great.
Thank you, Committee Member Yen. I would like to clarify that the attachment 1 is the recommended work plan. And so the attachment with the yellow headers attachment 2 includes all of the projects that were analyzed. With currently only 2 are recommended.
Sorry. Move forward to approve the work plan as it is.
second.
Thank you. My apologies.
Okay, do, all those who say, yeah, roll call, there we go. Or would you recommend a roll call or just,
We can do hands raised. For a point of clarification, did the committee members want to also include the event in celebration of women? Or did we want to
Yeah.
vote on both of those options?
Staggered method.
Okay, then a friendly amendment may be in to that motion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll make a friendly amendment to include the Celebrate Women event in the staggered effect that you mentioned upon completion of the 2 other projects that have rolled over from last year.
okay. I show of hands to take a vote on the proposal to accept the work plan as proposed with the friendly amendment to include the celebrating women's event and the staggered. as detailed by Senior Analyst. Joan, how do you do? Thank you. All right.
And to clarify for the minutes for the next meeting, I will, committee member Lester. Sorry, to clarify for the minutes for the next meeting, committee member Lester, can I take your friendly amendment as a second to the motion?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Wonderful. We will now move on to item 6.3, fiscal year 26-27 meeting schedule.
Thank you, Chair. In brief, every board president and committee is required to adopt a regular meeting schedule. HRC's bylaws state that meetings shall be on the first Thursday of the month. This memo includes a recommendation that the committee not meet on September 8th because there are no substantive agenda items and the fiscal year 26-27 work plans will not yet be approved by council, meaning that we will not need to form ad hoc committees before that date. I do want to clarify that there are two pillars on the memorandum. So a motion should include an change to the staff recommendation, which is that the first Thursday in October 26th is not October 7th. And that the first Thursday in May 2027 is May 6th, not May 7th. And I apologize for the
Made a note of. So I understand that correctly. If somebody wants to motion to approve the schedule as written, we should add the amendment with date corrections. Yep.
So moved with the amendment proposed by staff.
I will second that. Great.
Amazing. Sure. Public comment.
Oh, yes. Open for public comments, seeing no one there, we will move on to voting. Yeah, okay, so, sorry. Motion has already been made, and seconded. Show of hands vote.
All right.
All right. Very good. All right, we are almost there, guys. We're now moving on to committee and staff comments, questions, committee reports. No action. Committee member, do we need a break or?
No, sorry. I was just throwing stuff away. Sorry.
We're not done yet.
I know. In DTC, we always walked around. So.
No action will be taken on any questions raised by the committee at this time. State law prohibits the committee from discussing or acting on substantive non-agenda items. Does anybody have any comments, questions, or reports from the committee?
I have too many to at this.
Do you want to pick a favorite maybe, or?
I think we need to have some time to study this and come back with some ideas next meeting.
That'll be in.
By this, do you mean the work plan?
The
Or,
work plan.
if I may, try and understand, the work plan we have already passed.
Not
Or
in
the-
this detail.
Management analyst,
Yeah, to clarify, committee member McDonald, the committee, including you, just voted to approve the work plan with the addition of an event celebrating women. So the majority has passed the work plan for the next fiscal year.
So we've accepted the high level.
I think the
But
page you're
not-
looking at is
detail.
staff analysis.
yeah,
Yes, that's
Yeah.
the projects.
the staff analysis.
That's why it's so detailed.
Staff
And
analysis.
then what we passed was the proposal.
I should have brought
It's the draft one.
Draft one, right there, yep. Flip it, there you go, draft,
There.
draft.
Yes, this is what we passed.
Yeah. And this is a whole lot more. I mean, it started, this is up here. This is all the underpinnings.
That's correct, Committee Member McDonald. It was included in the agenda packet to provide context for the recommendation, which is that draft work plan. So the analysis provides feedback and context for the recommendations that were made in the.
In a way, we passed a blank check last time. The amounts are in the analysis.
The amounts, so the analysis, the projects included in the analysis are not all in the work plan. Only three of those projects are in the work plan, and the committee members on the ad hoc committee get to work on developing the scope of those projects.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
All right. Staff?
Very, very briefly, with my apologies, I do want to highlight that for those of you who are interested in a comparison of City of Mountain View crime statistics with other jurisdictions, on page 255 of the recently released proposed fiscal year 26-27 budget document, which is both on the city website and attached to the budget item that will be going to council on Tuesday, and the agenda was just posted this afternoon. There's information about the City of Mountain View's crime counts for this past year in comparison with the county's crime statistics. And you may want more context, but that is a starting place where we do have information that's relevant to that question.
Wasn't that we wanted the detail, we wanted a snapshot of it when they do their presentation.
Thank you. Well, if you are interested, it is there as well. And
Great. Thank you. We will now move on to item 9, adjournment, where we will adjourn the next regular meeting of the Human Relations Committee scheduled for October 1st, 2026, 6:30 p.m. Plaza Conference Room at Mountain City Hall. Thank you very much to everyone. Marathon 7.